Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie and this is Unity Consciousness. Thank you so much for stopping by. Before we get started, I do want to say welcome to our new subscribers and thank you to those of you who are tuning in again this week for an energy update. We have a very powerful eclipse this week, so I think we should jump right in. There's not a ton of different aspects occurring, just a couple, but they're extremely powerful. So very early on Thursday morning, as a matter of fact, it's like 13 minutes after midnight, or late Wednesday, that's Eastern time. So late Wednesday, if you're on the west coast of the Americas or perhaps Hawaii, we are going to have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 29 degrees. And this, because it's a new moon, regardless of the fact that it's an eclipse, we always set a new intention at a new moon, right? And the energy, being that it's an eclipse, it's a new moon, but it's a new moon on steroids. And not only does the new moon energy, which typically lasts for 2 weeks to 4 weeks at its strongest, being an eclipse, it's going to last for up to 6 months, but strongly for the first 4 months after the perfection of the new moon solar eclipse. And we want to set that intention in Aries themed things. So being centered in oneself, not self-centered, but also the spark or the ignition of something new. So, you know, if you want to pioneer something new, great use of that intention for that purpose. Now, at the same time, what's interesting and new, amongst other things, about this particular new moon solar eclipse is it is a closeout as well as a new beginning. Why do I say that? That's because of the aneretic degree at which it is. So the sun and the moon become conjunct or conjunct each other at the time, which makes it a new moon. It's at 29 degrees of Aries, aneretic degree. So that means it's going to be a closeout also of something that will immediately be followed by a new beginning. So like I said, this is a very powerful time. Eclipses always bring around sudden change that can be a little jarring at first. I always say to myself, when there are changes that occur or energy that I'm feeling begin to occur, I always remind myself it is eclipse season. And so it's just important to note that aneretic degree intensifies that energy. Being at the very end of the sign of Aries intensifies that energy. But keep in mind, there is a new beginning that's available to us as well. The other important thing to note that I absolutely love about this new moon is this is the first new moon eclipse on the Aries-Libra nodal axis, which is going to shift in July and stay that way until January of 2025. So we are getting a glimpse at the energy, that the theme, the overall underlying collective theme that will be in place from July of this year until January of 2025. And if you want to see how it will manifest in your life, you go back to the period of time when this theme was prominent in history. So that would be December of 2004 through June of 2006. This new moon solar eclipse, when eclipses are near the nodal axis, it's either going to be the north node or the south node. This new moon solar eclipse is close to the north node. So I expect that the closeout is going to be something from the nodal axis, Taurus, north node themes that are closing out now, and the beginning of the north node in Aries energy. That will be your new beginning. So, you know, there may be an undertone of all of this, of something happens quickly where you feel like you're not sure where you're going, but you can be confident that wherever it is you're going, there'll be a benefit in the process. So if things start getting a little overwhelming, but you're settled on the inside, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. If you're a cardinal sign, one of the cardinal signs, because Aries itself is a cardinal sign, so that's going to be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn at or near 29 degrees, 2 to 4 degrees of 29 degrees. This is going to be very intense, intensely felt by you as an individual. We all have Aries energy in our chart. So wherever that Aries energy is also where you're going to feel this the most, okay? Jupiter is within orb of conjunction of the sun and the moon, which at the time of this eclipse, new moon solar eclipse, that ushers in in my opinion, or expands the self-sufficiency of Aries energy and the courage of Aries energy to manage the square. So Pluto itself is going to be an out of sign square, but it's going to square this energy, this new moon energy. And then within minutes of the sun and the moon coming into conjunction, which makes that new moon solar eclipse happen, it's going to cross, the sun is going to move into Taurus within minutes and then square Pluto, right? But remember, we had Jupiter that was sitting with the sun and the moon at the time of this new moon solar eclipse, so that energy, we can carry it forward, right? So that energy that is Pluto square, it can trigger, I have to be honest with you, it can trigger some fear-based thinking or obstacles to progress that can be a little bit frustrating. Also at the time of this new moon, Mars is going to be the ruler of this new moon. Mars rules Aries. Mars currently is in the sign of Cancer at 13 degrees, and it is sextile Mercury and Uranus at the time of this new moon solar eclipse, and it's going to perfect the sextile. Mars and Mercury will sextile on Friday after Mercury goes retrograde. However, at the time of this new moon, Mercury and Uranus will be sextile. Mars, which is in Cancer, again, the ruler of this new moon solar eclipse. So try to manage impulsivity. I mean, Aries energy is very impulsive anyway, and that's where the new moon and the sun are. And like I said, Mars rules that. Mars wants you to be impulsive, especially driven by your emotions, because Mars is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about our emotions. So you may have some over-the-top emotions, impulse reactions to things. Try to temper that, please. By doing so, you're going to engage a conscious, five-dimensional understanding of those bodies, what they're doing, and it'll fortify, again, because Jupiter was conjunct that new moon energy, it's going to fortify that new moon energy. It can bring in some surprising news or communication, because again, Mercury and Uranus are at play here. So surprising news, communications out of the blue, or just perhaps it's just this amazing insight that comes into you that allows you to maximize the potential of instant manifestations. I mean, it's very, very powerful, very intense energy. And, you know, Mars at this same time is going to square Chiron. So some of the frustration you may be feeling or have felt in the very recent past could have to do with your health. Again, that square between Mars and Chiron is going to perfect on Friday of this week, but nonetheless, that energy is in play at the time of the new moon, which is why we're talking about this. But there could be some frustration that pops up relative to a health condition you thought you had a handle on, or some symptoms that seem to be persisting. But the sudden insight, if you sit with that energy, there could also be some sudden insight between that Mercury and Uranus connection with Mars, that's sextile energy. That sudden insight could help you see what's not working for you so that you can transform it. Again, Pluto's at play here, so we can use that transformational energy. Now, also, this is very powerful new moon, right? Also, Saturn's a player here. So Saturn is in Pisces, and it's going to semi-square the new moon solar eclipse. It's out of sign. It's going to be out of sign because one's a water sign and the other is an air sign. But let's move on past that. Saturn is also going to square Venus in Gemini. That's not a semi, it's a straight square. So this is the frustration of knowing that something's got to give. You know, I can't go on this way, something's got to give. You know, I can't keep, because Venus is involved here, I can't keep throwing money at something or resources without into something where there's no positive outcome that I'm seeing. There's no long-term gain. So that frustration can also be there in that square too. With the frustration that's looming, please, please, please be mindful of that impulsivity. Like I said, Aries wants us to be impulsive. Mars is driving our emotions and that emotional response up. So please be mindful of impulsivity and be aware of your surrounding. Read the room. Try not to have a significant, unpleasant experience that involves someone else. That would be a travesty, that's for sure. As I mentioned when we were talking about the sun, when the sun, it makes its connection to the moon, which signifies the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse, but then it jumps into Taurus. So happy birthday, Taurus. On Thursday is the beginning of Taurus season. With the sun moving into Taurus, let's talk about some of those themes. Taurian people are very stable people. They appreciate stability. They're very loyal, very, very loyal people, and they're devoted. They're tried and true. The methodology that they embody is, I've done it this way and it works for me, so I really don't want to change. Sensual pleasures, so, you know, tasting food, tasting delicious, appreciation of nature and aesthetics, you know, nice clothes, feeling nice silky shirt. Those sensual pleasures are going to take center stage as well. I just want you to be mindful, be aware that the three-dimensional part of Taurian energy is being very stubborn, unwilling to change. It's very fixed energy. So just be mindful of that. And if you find yourself being very stuck or stubborn in energy, just know you got to give a little bit too. And when the sun squares Pluto, like I said, at that 0 degree point, sun's going to move into Taurus and then boom, it's going to square Pluto. It's a really good time to think about how we are getting in our own way. That's how I saw that. How are we getting in our own way, impeding our transformation or our growth? Especially if it has to do with our stability. That's a Taurian underlying theme. Then on Friday, as I mentioned, Mercury finally goes retrograde in the sign of Taurus. Mercury will stay in retrograde until the 14th of May and stays in shadow. Even though it goes direct on the 14th, it stays in shadow until the 31st of May. Remember, no contracts, no electronics, anything that Mercury rules. If you instigate action during Mercury retrograde, you will be revisiting it. So it's going to be coming back to you 2 or 3 times. Travel delays are also very prominent during Mercury retrograde season. Personally, I use Mercury retrograde season to be extra diligent on my communications. I read every email, read every text, Any communications I give, even if I want to leave a message, I listen it through 2-3 times before I go ahead, or read it through 2 or 3 times before I go ahead and send it. It is an opportunity. Instead of instigation of things, let's see what comes to us. And then remember, no big decisions. I'm going to be reviewing it, table it. Let me just think about that. Let me add that to my pending file, and I'll make a final decision sometime after the 14th, if you can wait that long, or if possible, if you can wait till the 31st of May, that'd even be better yet. But don't let it, I don't want it to make you feel like you can't do something. Just be mindful that if you instigate a process, it's going to keep coming back to you until you're through with the Mercury retrograde season. Then 1 week from today, which will be, I think, the 23rd, 24th of April. My goodness, we're almost already zooming through April. Mercury retrograde in Taurus is going to sextile Mars in Cancer. Again, sextile, do something to get something. Mercury is retrograde, so there could be something that's popping back up in your sphere of understanding that happened just a couple of weeks ago, so that you can revise it or redo it. Even though your emotions want you to do something, because it is Mars in Cancer and it's a sextile, so it's good energy, it's easy energy. Just if your emotions want you to do something, I would suggest that if you can table it, I would do that. I would definitely table it until the 14th of May, or if you can, until the 31st of May. So that's the energy that I have for you this week. I did pull a card, and I also got a channeled message specific to this new moon solar eclipse. I got one last November, and this one I got today, and I took the time to write it out. So I think we'll do the card first, then I'll read the channeled message that I'm supposed to deliver. So the card for today, I chose the Animal Spirit deck, Kim Kranz. Love this deck, really fun. And the card that jumped out today, I find this very interesting, but it also is very apropos, is the raccoon card. Again, it's an earth sign. So let's see what the book has to say. Talented, shadowy, in hiding. Raccoon energy is at play within all artists to greater or lesser degrees. At best, it indicates talent, tenacity, and skillfulness with a particular musical instrument or creative tool. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Very interesting. I have to tell you, as soon as I read that, I thought about that Pluto square message that we got. Anyway, its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Sometimes using a stage name or wearing a mask works in an artist's favor. Other times, it limits creativity. Am I who my audience thinks I am? What if I am ready to grow into something more? Raccoon energy won't let us off the hook until this creative ego fear is resolved. When in balance, it's a generous friend or exceptional artist. When out of balance, it's competitive and a starving artist. To bring it into balance, make your work. I do love that energy, and I do believe that it matches the full moon solar eclipse energy. So now let me read this channeled message. I hope you don't mind that I wrote it down, but I did not want to lose anything in translation. The new moon solar eclipse channeled message for the next 6 months. Transformations that are necessary are easily embodied now because we know self-mastery awaits us. We can face our fears, overcome our emotional triggers or trigger points to break down obstacles and ensure long-term success. My goodness, that almost sounds exactly like what the book said today. Well, I hope you were able to get something out of this message. If you did like this video, please click the like button. If you know somebody that could be helped by this video, please do share it with them. And if you want to know when videos are being dropped, please click the subscribe button. If you have any comments, please post them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you ASAP. I am here for you this week. I am sending wonderful vibes your way, and I hope you do have a fantastic, event-filled week given to us all by the new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 29 degrees. Namaste.